Okay, welcome to the last week of the semester, Unit 15, A Law Must Be Passed. We're almost done. So here we're going to look at how to make recommendations about social issues and give opinions about laws and social issues. A lot of it's going to look the same, so just bear with me. We're going to try and get through this as quickly as possible. So it says unusual laws from around the world. And so we have 8 unusual laws, and let's see what they are. So it says, number 1, a law prohibits unmarried women from parachuting on Sundays in Florida. Yeah, just on Sunday. God hates unmarried parachuting women. So don't do that if you go to Florida. In Switzerland, it's illegal to keep only one pet if it's a social animal. This one I happen to agree with a lot. I have 2 doggies, and when they die, I'm gonna get 2 more. And my girlfriend doesn't like that idea. She's like, let's just get one. I'm like, we're at work all the time. Like right now we're under quarantine, but when we actually leave the house, they stay home. And I think it sucks if it's just one pet. They go insane, right? Number 3, it's against the law to feed the pigeons in Venice. This one actually makes a whole lot of sense. If you look into it, um, pigeons in Venice are flying rats, and they poop on the statues and on the buildings. I mean, it's just disgusting. So if you feed them, you're creating more of a problem. So this one actually makes sense too. In some states in Australia, you may not leave the car keys inside an unattended vehicle. They've seen way too many American movies. It's one of the things I've never understood in American movies, right? If you see enough action movies, especially from like 30, 20 years ago, well, okay, more like 30, 40 years ago, they always leave them in the sun visor. They leave them in the ignition, in the glove box, right? But the keys are always in the car. I'm thinking, who does that? And the car's always unlocked. I'm thinking, who does that? To the point where like there's some classic horror movies, like I think it's Night of the Living Dead, George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, where they need to get a truck. They're like, but the keys aren't in the truck. Blah. It's like, yeah, they shouldn't be. People should have their keys in their house. Right? So Australia learned from American movies. In the United Kingdom, women aren't allowed to eat chocolate on public transportation. More hate on women. Guys are messier. Men are messier than women. So why are women prohibited from eating chocolate on public transportation? Business must provide rails for tying up horses in Canada. Again, this makes a lot of sense. Canada is very, very rural, like insanely rural. It's nothing but farmland. Think of a farm, multiply it times 1,000, and you get Canada. Mounted police, the Royal Mounties, they're a big thing in Canada. They ride horses. Let's take a quick look here. All right. We have odd laws still on the books. If you guys want to look for stuff for wild hours, weird laws still on the books. The most ridiculous laws in every state, obviously in the US. 10 completely archaic laws still on the books, right? So I went ahead and looked one up. Look at this really good stuff. In Vermont, Vermont banned banning clotheslines. Try reading that 3 times fast. You read that right. In 2009, in 2009, fairly recent. Most of these laws are from like 1886. Vermont made it illegal for groups like neighborhood associations to ban clotheslines. So nobody wanted to see your dirty laundry, quite literally. But Vermont said you cannot prohibit clotheslines. You can't throw rocks at trains in Wisconsin. You can't make fake drugs in Arizona. Blasphemy is still illegal in Michigan. You can't say "God damn it" without it being a misdemeanor. Dogs can't hunt big game mammals in California. Don't bite while boxing in Utah. You guys heard of like when Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield? Well, that's illegal in Utah. That's that's why the fight happened in Vegas. Yeah, see that? He's not kissing him. He's biting the ear. Look at how he left the ear. It was a big controversy, but yeah, Mike Tyson bit Evander Holyfield's ear. So he couldn't have done that in Utah. He would have faced the consequences. Swearing at a sport event is illegal in Massachusetts, which is part of going to a sporting event. You can't use a false name at a hotel in New Hampshire. So if you're cheating on your wife, you gotta use the real one. Or actually, if you're a celebrity, you can't use a pseudonym. Pretending to be a religious figure is illegal in Alabama. I think it's more states than just Alabama. You couldn't throw snowballs in Severance, Colorado until 2019. You couldn't throw snowballs. So they overturned that. Now it's legal. You live in a state with snow. That's just cruel. So on and so forth. So these are like the top 11. You have to believe in something in order to hold public office in Texas. So you can't be an atheist. Ha! What do you know? I guess you could get around it by saying, I believe in science. Right? But there's way more, like I said. So if you want to look up some of these for what hours, ridiculous laws, definitely do that. But going to the horses, Canadian Mounties. Oh, not what I wanted. So that's the Royal Mounted Police. They're a Canadian staple, like maple syrup. So they use horses. See? So it kind of makes sense. These guys, if there's, I was talking to my Canadian friend, and he said that in a lot of provinces, in cities, they don't have a formal police force. So if they don't have a formal police force, the mounted police is the police in that area. That's where they have jurisdiction. So they could be your local police, your state police, or your border patrol, depending where you live. So if you don't have a formal police force, the Royal Mounted Police is your police force. And, well, they're mounted. So Canada, keep on having places where to tie horses. Number 7, in the state of Washington, it's illegal to pretend your parents are rich. Oh, man, this is great. There was a huge scandal. Uh, German girl pretends to be a rich socialite. Right. I think, yeah. So this girl, she got caught because she started scamming people. So there's Anna Varimova Sorokina. She's okay. So she's Russian. Woman posing as a German heiress. Right. Anna Sorokina, who posed as a German heiress. Here's another wild hour for you guys. Research this girl. It's fantastic. She just went up to people and said, I'm rich. And they believed it. And then when time came to pay the bill, she's like, hey, you know what? I forgot my credit card in my other purse. Why don't you pay for this very expensive hotel or restaurant? And people were like, all right. She's like, don't worry. I got you. I'll pay next time. And she never did. And then she got caught. People got suspicious. Right? So that's just fantastic. And in Finland, taxi drivers must pay royalties if they play music for customers. So here normally it's like radio, TV shows. It's one of the reasons I couldn't put up that video with music. One time I wanted to put a video with ABBA and the Beatles, and it took me like 3 days to put up one video. Well, that's why. Right? Royalties. You can't. someone made that music, they should be paid for it. And YouTube disagrees because I see a bunch of channels with just streaming albums and music and whatever. So you can't use it for your personal videos, God forbid. Okay? So these are these 8 laws. What are they saying here? So let's see what are the questions. Which of these laws would you like to have in your country, city or country, and why? And so I like the one about feeding pigeons. Yeah, we shouldn't be feeding anyone, right? Well, I mean, street animals, especially pigeons. They're rats with wings. Good God. Oh, and it should be illegal for you to pretend your parents are rich. Yeah, half of Mexico City would be in jail. Be hilarious. I don't see it as much as a problem here in Guadalajara, but in Mexico City, good Lord, that needs to stop. Can you think of reasons for these laws? All right, so I gave you a couple of reasons, obviously, for the Canada one, the mounted police, and it's extremely rural. Again, mostly country. Right, it's not very urban at all. And the one for Venice, I gave you reasons for those, and I kind of hinted at reasons for why it's illegal to keep one of a pet that's social, like dogs and birds and stuff like that. So if you can think of other reasons for these, or if you want to research them for a 1 hour, knock yourself out. I'm really curious as to why in the United Kingdom women aren't allowed to eat chocolate on public transportation. So, woo! And do you know any other unusual laws? It's not so much a law, but I did see a sign. So when I moved to Mexico, I moved with a significant other, and she was American, but she knew a little bit of Spanish. So she was practicing her Spanish, reading the road signs, right? She'd be like, curvas peligrosas, 12 kilometers. And I was like, kilometros. She's like, whatever. And she's like, so dangerous curves? And I was like, yeah, dangerous curves, dangerous turns, whatever. Just watch it, next 12 kilometers. And so she'd read it and whatever. And then she says, what does that one mean? And the one that she saw was this one. And when I saw it, I had to laugh. So again, it's not a law. It's not a law, but it's a sign. And it said, it goes piedras, right? She's like, what does that mean? And I just started laughing. It says, please don't put rocks on the road. And she's like, that's a thing? And I told her, my dad once said, if there's a law against something, that means at some point, someone did it. And nobody liked it. So there's a law, right? So yeah, here in Mexico, I tried to Google the sign. There's no pictures of it. People haven't bothered to take a picture of it and put it up, right? But yeah, favor de no poner piedras en el camino. That's just bizarre to me. Seems common sense. Why would anyone put rocks on the road? But again, if the sign exists, someone at some point did it. All right. Good Lord. Let's move on to perspectives. Rules and regulations. So we have the rules and regulations. Listen to people make recommendations at a city council meeting. Would you agree with these proposals? Well, let's take a listen. As my neighbor's dog keeps barking. They have a little puppy. They have a little boxer puppy. They got him fairly young, like, when you usually get a dog, what is it, 3-4 weeks, whatever. And they leave him in the front yard by himself. This little guy's like 4 months old. And to this day, when I leave him in the front yard, he cries. I told my girlfriend, he should be used to being alone by now. And that's why it's illegal in Switzerland to have social animals by themselves, because they cry, they get sad. And this little puppy just doesn't get it. That's his spot. And he just cries whenever he's left by himself. Right now, he's in the backyard. Figure that one out. But Here's the audio for perspectives.
Unit 15. A law must be passed. Page 100. Exercise 2. Perspectives. Rules and regulations. Part A. Listen to people make recommendations at a city council meeting. Would you agree with these proposals if they were made in your community? Check your opinion. Meeting notes. 1.
Clubs should be required to install soundproof walls.
2.
Riding a bike on the sidewalk mustn't be permitted.
3.
Pet owners shouldn't be allowed to walk dogs without a leash.
4.
Something has got to be done about littering.
5.
A law must be passed to control the pollution from vehicles.
6.
Children ought to be required to wear a helmet when riding a bike.
7.
Schools should only be permitted to serve organic food.
So again, city council meeting saying what should and shouldn't be allowed, must or must not, or the oddly sounding mustn't. But again, here we have your modals. You have your modals. Should plus be. Must. Well, must not, right? Mustn't. Should not. Something has got to be done. How British has got. So remember, has to and has got to is same thing. Same thing. All right, just a different way to express it. All right, here we go with the must. Right? So you have your modals, which we've seen for like the past 2 units. Absolutely nothing new. But in this case, it's about laws. Before it was like recommendations and regrets. Here's about laws. You should do this. This shouldn't be done. That kind of thing. All right. We've mainly seen them as, so in the previous unit, we saw it as a judgment. I can't believe I didn't think of this, but honestly, I've been watching it this weekend. So here, take a look at this before we move on to the more pertinent stuff. Oh, actually, let me erase this. I don't want it just floating around. So these are your modals. And we've been using them to show regret. Right. So this is a series on Netflix called The Hollows. And I'm not going to spoil it, but essentially it's these kids stuck in this like really weird world and they have superpowers. Season 1 is okay. It was not what I was expecting. It's all right. Season 2, which I just watched, is really good. It's actually funny. The first one, the humor kind of falls flat. It's kind of like chuckle. This one actually made me laugh. It's funnier. It's much more critical. It starts examining deeper questions than the first one. The first one's more of an adventure. We're here. We don't know why. We need to get from point A to point B. But I want you guys to look at what this character tells this other one. So this is from season 2, episode 4. But again, I recommend watching the whole thing.
Genial. Ya me estoy mareando sin siquiera moverme.
Okay. For some reason, it's in Spanish when I had put it in English. Let's see. English subtitles with English original. All right. I don't know why I kicked it back up to Spanish. All right, let's see if it works now.
Great. Ugh. I'm getting motion sickness and I'm not even moving.
You'll get used to it.
Mira! Oh, we were so worried!
You shouldn't have gone through alone.
Here we go.
Well, you shouldn't have. But I'm glad we found you.
Right, so that really long detour to show you judgment with the modals, right? You shouldn't have gone through alone, right? What cracks me up is that the name of this girl is Mira, and that's what's so fantastic about knowing different languages. You're like, mira nomás, es mira, mira nomás, right? But that's what we saw in the previous unit. Now it's more of this should be done, this shouldn't be done. So let's take a look at the grammar point so we can end this section of the video. I love it how slowly the book actually works. So let's take a look here. All right. Here we go, grammar focus. Let's bring it into focus. So the grammar focus says, giving recommendations and opinions. So giving recommendations, we've actually done that before. But here you're also giving opinions. What should be done, what shouldn't be done, what must be done, what mustn't be done, right? Should be required. So you have your modal, be, and the past participle. Your modal with the negative, should not, plus be, past participle. Now notice, you're telling ought and ought not. And I know what you're thinking. The hell is not, right? Well, ought is should. It's just another way of saying should. People should be required to wear a helmet. That's it. It's another word for should. Notice there's no contraction. You have should, shouldn't, must, mustn't, but ought, ought not. You're never going to have never, right? When you think something is absolutely necessary, that's when you use must or have, right? Remember from the sheet that I linked up with the modals, these are modals of obligation. You must clean your room. You have to do your homework. A law must be passed. This is absolutely, this needs to get done, right? So let's take a look at the exercises really quickly. And it's really, really simple. It says complete the sentences positively or negatively. So knock yourself out. Compare your statements. Do you agree or disagree? Young people, right? So it says group work. What I want you to do is just answer it, either positively or negatively. Just say whether you agree with the sentiment or not. So for example, young people to vote before 21. Should be. Permitted. Kind of forgot about that. So young people should be permitted to vote before age 21. If we go back to our friend Google over here, but without the annotation. Here. Are teenagers are 16-year-olds allowed to vote? Apparently in Scotland, they are. 16-year-olds are changing the world. They should be allowed to vote. Should 16-year-olds be allowed to vote? This is why 16-year-olds should be allowed to vote. blah, 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 right? They want to vote. So there's a lot of reasons why lowering the in the US. But like I said, I think it's legal in Scotland. So you can look that up. Another 1 hour, right? But it's just should be allowed to vote. Why or why not? Okay. So very easy, very straightforward. Okay. We have some controversial topics here in the discussion. So let's take a look at that one. So discussion says group work. Think of 3 reasons for and 3 reasons against. Okay. So the discussion, put it up on the Facebook comments for this video. We're actually going to have a discussion. So group work. Think of 3 reasons for and 3 against each idea below. Then discuss your views as a group. Okay. Requiring employers to offer workers 12 weeks of parental leave. Depending on the country, some countries give you up to 6 months. 12 weeks, that's 3 months. And in some countries with the mom and the dad combined, they have up to a year in parental leave. So parental leave means here in Mexico is maternal. So as in the US, like moms get time off when they have a baby. Paying teachers less when their students fail. Oh my God. We already don't get paid enough. If I don't get paid if you guys fail, like, me muero de hambre, right? Banning private cars from downtown areas in big cities. This is actually done. Banning private cars from downtown areas. Banning private cars from downtown areas. What happens when a city bans cars from its streets? The BBC. Cities are banning cars around the world, mainly Scandinavia. Denmark, Sweden, Finland. These are cities that in their downtown centers are not allowing cars anymore, except for handicapped and the elderly. But aside from that, you have to park outside of downtown and either walk, take public transportation, whether it be a taxi or the bus. They're also promoting a lot of bicycle use, especially in Denmark. Denmark's actually even making highways for bicycles. Okay. So 3 for, 3 against, put it in the comments, and I wanted you guys to actually exchange ideas, right? Now, obviously, we only have a week, but take advantage of that. So I want to see discussion of these controversial topics on the actual comments. Okay? But that'll be it for this video. It's been brought to you by Netflix. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to do any of that. But, I've been making so many of these and I've been watching so many YouTube videos that it just kind of sticks with you. But no, you don't have to like or subscribe or ring the bell, right? I'm not even monetized. So I do this out of love for you guys. Okay. So this is video 1 of Unit 15. Stay tuned for the rest.